Audible? Am I audible? Good morning. So let's go into the class. Yes. So today the important concept we are going to discuss is DPSP. Fine. So coming to DPSP. Though they are not justiciable in nature, you cannot ignore DPSP from the Indian Constitution. They play one of the important role in terms of good governance. Okay, so that we are going to see today, discuss today. Fine, we'll be seeing articles in detail. What are all the features of DPSP? Everything we'll be talking about. So this we are going to do with India's largest learning platform, and you can use all these benefits from Unacademy platform, and you can download this app. Please do download this app. Why? I will tell you, because I take uh, two kinds of classes. So one is on the YouTube channel, which you are meeting me as of now. So one is polity and ethics class, and the other one who are all attempting your prelims 2020, I will tell you, please take these special classes which is available in the Unacademy platform. Okay, it's free. Okay, so it's free, so don't worry about it. You can just go to the platform. You can come to my classes. Today we are discussing the complete revision of modern India. In 2 hours, I am giving you the most important data. Obviously, I cannot revise you every nook and corner, but I'm going to give you the most important data related to modern India. So what happens is that you can use it for elimination purposes. Fine. Today, sharp at 6 p.m. that is happening in the Unacademy platform. So please do download the app so that it will be helpful. So about me, I'm an engineer. I have 4 years of teaching experience, and then I'm an anthropology faculty also. You can use these two. Links. Is available in the description of this video to join my anthropology group, and the same on the same time you can join the Telegram channel for GS. Fine. This is where you can follow me on the Unacademy platform, where you will see my all these special classes, because I have done special classes related to COVID-19, and then my special classes related to all these things will be definitely helpful. Yes, so these are all the top educators you are going to discuss with, you are going to talk with, and the comprehensive syllabus structure is designed so that it will help you score very good in the UPSC examination. And this is the subscription details, and use these subscription details and use my code SUBA to get a 10% of discount. And the comparison of Iconic and UPSC, in Iconic you get a personal coach, especially people who are planning to give 2020 attempt or 2022 attempt. It's better to choose Iconic, where you get a personal coach and they will guide you in a very intensive format. Okay, that is the thing. And here also you can use my code SUBA Suba. Fine. And this is my special class. I want you all to make use of special class today. It's free. Important data's revision of modern India. Fine. So that is on the Unacademy platform. Coming to the class, directive principles of state policy. See, DPSP Modern India class is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. today. So in 2 hours, I'll be giving you the most important points related to modern India. Fine. In the Unacademy platform, you can use it through app or through website. Fine. So directive principles of state policy. So coming to directive principles of state policy, why is it important? So what is more important about DPSP, even though it's not justiciable in nature, we'll see that. So yes, as one person has told that it is borrowed from Irish Constitution. Yes, it was borrowed from the Irish Constitution of 1937, who actually borrowed it from Spanish Constitution. Okay, so we borrowed from Irish. They borrowed from Spain. Okay, they just copied it from Spain. So the idea was only borrowed from Irish Constitution. We did not take the same points from Irish Constitution. But in terms of Spanish Constitution, completely copied it. Okay. Next, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. See, these types of terms are very important. Why? Usually they ask it in terms of Union Public Service Commission exams, or if you are going for your State Public Service Commission exams, these kind of questions are always asked, or you can get these points in the mains. Fine. So these points will add even more quality to your mains answer. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he himself has described it is a novel feature. Novel feature means a unique feature. We just borrowed the idea, not the complete content from the Irish Constitution. But we designed the DSP according to our, we designed the DPSP according to our own convenience and our own needs. Fine. The directive principles, along with the fundamental rights, contains the philosophy of constitution, and it is the soul of the constitution. So DPSP and fundamental right together is called as soul of the constitution. Fine. Okay. So Granville Austin, so what he has said, he has directed that directive principle is the conscience of constitution. What is conscience? Generally, conscience is our inner voice which always talks something correct about whatever you're doing. See, whenever you're doing something, you will hear two voices. So one voice will be honest to you. It will tell you whether you're doing right or wrong. The other voice will tell what you have to hear, what you feel like hearing, what will make you comfortable. People who are listening to the voice which is honest to you, which says right and wrong to you, will always lead a very good life. The people who are listening to the voice which is just comforting you will face problems in life. The same way, this conscience of constitution, DPSP, is like the voice of the constitution which says what is right, what is wrong to the state. Okay, what is right and what is wrong to the government. So that is why this constitution, this DPSP is called as the science of Indian constitution. Fine. So what are all the features of directive principles? We will see that first. The phrase, you can see the name itself, directive principle, it gives direction to the state's policy. When state is creating policy, this DPSP gives direction, gives instructions. So that is what is about this new principles of state policy. According to Article 36. So do you all remember? This term, Article 12? What does Article 12 in Fundamental Rights speak about? Article 12 in Fundamental Rights speaks about the definition of state. The same way, Article 36, the term state in Part 4 has the same meaning as in Part 3 dealing with the fundamental right. That is what they are mentioning. See, in Article 36, what do they mention is, Article 36 says that same as Article 12, the meaning of state is same. Fine. So state means it includes every body of government or any even some private organization which is having at least one link with the government also comes under the concept of state. Yes. Fine. The directive principle resemble the instrument of instruction in the Government of India Act. See, how was this? This instrument of instruction was actually given to the Governor General and Governors of Colony by the British government. Okay. So what happened when Britain was ruling, the British people were ruling our country, they got instructions from Britain. Okay. This directive principles of state policy is similar to instrument of instructions from the Britain, but it is not the same points. It is like, you can compare it, that's all. But the points are even more justifiable, even more fair. Obviously, you could have understood if Britain was giving some instruction, do you think it will be very fair? Do you think it will be fair to Indian people? No. But the present directive principles of state policy is trying to, be more justiciable. It ensures, economic democracy and social democracy to the people. Fine. So that is the thing. If there is any question, which of the following can be equated or which of the following can be compared with the directive principles of state policy? It's the instruments of instruction in the Government of India Act 1935. Okay. Yes, right. It's a moral guidance law. Okay. So obviously, the usage of DPSP is a moral obligation for the lawmaker. Even though they are not legal obligation, they are moral obligation for the lawmakers. Fine. Next. The directive principles constitute a very comprehensive economic, social and political program for a modern democratic state. So we are going to discuss the article. There you will understand how these DPSP is ensuring economic, social and political program. They aim at realizing the high ideals of justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Where did you see all these words? Justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Yes, you saw this in preamble. Okay, so we say that DPSP is like trying to amplify the preamble. So we know that preamble is non-justiciable and it is not a source of power. But DPSP, even though non-justiciable, it can be held as a source of power when Supreme Court uses it to check the constitutionality of laws. So what they have done is the preamble, even though it's not having the power, it is amplified by the DPSP. Yes. They embody the concept of welfare state. I told you very well, India is a socialist nation. So in socialist nation, what is the major aim? The socialist nation's major aim is welfare, welfare of the state or welfare state. Okay, and not a police state. Police usually you can see in terms of military rule. Military rule is where you see the police state, but we are in a socialist nation where the priority of people's welfare is very important, which existed during the colonial era. See, actually speaking, okay, so more democratic status, we had democracy even during the British rule. But that democracy during the British rule was not like how we have now. Even though we were electing who should rule us, we did not completely elect who should rule us. Partial election was given. Even though we selected the representatives were not given the power. But the modern democratic status, the people are more powerful, yes, but still the power is vested. The real power is vested in the hands of legislatures. Okay, the legislators, the lawmakers have the real power in them. They have the responsibility in them, not just the power, they have the responsibility in them. So in modern democratic state, when the legislators have the responsibility of making law which ensures welfare to the people, this directive principle is very important, which acts like an instruction, which acts like a directions, which the legislators can use to make laws. Okay, so that is what is thing. So they seek to establish economic and social democracy. See, guys, this is very important concept. See, when fundamental right is ensuring political democracy, very important concept. DPSP, this was even asked in UPSC once. DPSC tries to give us economic and social democracy. Fine. Very, very important. So that is what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that unless you ensure social democracy, political democracy is of no use. Okay, so according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, if you want to ensure political democracy, first and foremost, you should ensure social democracy. Only then you can be saying that a country is politically democratic in nature. Fine. So the DPSP are not justiciable in nature and they are not legally enforceable by courts for their violation. Okay, you can ask me, ma'am, if court cannot question about it, what is the actual way of enforcing DPSP? Is that Parliament can make laws to enforce any DPSP. Okay, Parliament has the power to enforce any DPSP. Fine. The Constitution, the Article 37 says that these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country, even though they are non-justiciable in nature. According to Article 37, these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making law. Okay, so because of this concept, the Supreme Court is using DPSP as a reference to check a constitutionality of any law. Okay, so that is what is saying. We cannot directly go to the court asking that please enforce this DPSP. This DPSP is violated. Check it. We cannot go to the court that way. But if there is any law, if there is any parliamentary act which is coming, the court can use DPSP as a reference to check the constitutionality. Fine. So that is the thing. So you see this. The Supreme Court has ruled many times that in determining the constitutionality of any law, if it finds the law in question seeks to give effect to directive principle, it may consider such law reasonable in relation to Article 14. That is, we know that Article 14 is equality before law or equal protection of law, or Article 18 we have six freedoms, freedom of expression and then freedom of movement, all these things. So if there is any law which is violating either Article 14 or 19, but that law is enforcing a DPSP, then what will happen is that the law will be constitutionally valid. Okay, so that is what they are giving to her. It may consider such a law to be reasonable in relation to Article 14 or Article 19, thus save such law from unconstitutionality. So this is the good explanation. So that is what I'm telling you. Even though DPSP is non-justiciable, it can be used as used by the Supreme Court to check the constitutionality of any law. Sometimes some law which are about to become unconstitutional gets escaped from it and becomes constitutional because they enforce or they are made in terms of a DPSP. Fine. Yes, right. Constitutionality is judicial review, right? Okay, so during judicial review only you get the term as constitutionality. So what is the classification of directive principles? So the classification of directive principle has been done based on three categories. So first is socialist, Gandhian principles and liberal intellectual principles. We'll see what are these things in details. So this also you should know this, either the articles come under socialist, Gandhian or liberal or intellectual, we'll be that. First, socialist principles. Generally, socialist principles means the DPSP which ensures socialism. That's called as ideology of socialism is called as socialistic principles. Okay. They lay down the framework of socialist, democratic socialist state, and so that they can give social and economic justice. Okay, political justice is ensured through fundamental rights. So here they give us social and economic justice and set path towards the welfare state. Okay, fine. Let's go into the articles. See, keep in mind, DPSP's article are from 36 to 51. Okay, so you can just note this down. First one, fundamental right, 12 to 35. DPSP 36 to 51. Fundamental duty, just 1 equal 51A. Before this, you can add, union and its territory, 1 to 4, and then citizenship, 5 to 11. Okay, so keep the articles in mind, very, very important. Only then you can answer if they are, having any, if they're asking any question related to articles. Fine, next. Okay, so related to UCC's Uniform Civil Code. So don't worry, we are going to see Uniform Civil Code. It comes under the liberal principles. We'll be seeing that definitely. And age of consent of marriage is different. Age of consent of marriage is now we have it in terms of fundamental rights also. The decision of whom we can marry will come under the concept of fundamental rights. Okay. Okay, related to socialism and communism, simple. See, socialism is the concept where I will tell you. See guys, listen. Socialism, communism, capitalism. So only private, only public organization, private organization will have more power. Here, both public and private. Here, profit is the first motive. Here, equality is the first motive. Here, profit plus equality, which they try to get welfare. Simple. Fine. Socialism is communism doesn't mean the state will get more profit. Here, socialism means public organizations also will be there, private organizations also will be there. In communism, only public organization, an individual cannot get properties. In capitalism, if an individual is performing well, he gets the property. If someone is not performing well, they won't get the property or they won't get the money. Also, inequality will be very high because the profit is the only important motive over there. But in communism, it's equality. However you work, it's equally split and it is given to everyone. You either work or you either work or don't work, everyone will get everything. But in terms of socialism, you work, you get well. But if there is any need of this, if there is any need for welfare measures, you have to donate it to the state. Okay, this is the difference between socialism and communism. In communism, you cannot earn more beyond a limit, state will take it. But in socialism, you can earn it, but if there is any need, if there is any requirement, you have to give it to state. That is called as socialism. Okay, simple. Next, going to this. So, according to this, the first socialist principle is to promote the welfare of people by securing a social order permitted by justice, social, economic, and political justice, and to minimize the inequality. See, this is very important. Minimizing the inequalities, income, status, facilities, and opportunities. This is Article 38. Okay. You cannot compare extreme form of socialism is communism. Socialism is different, communism is different. Communism means only the government will have power. You are earning something, you can be allowed to have only 100 rupees. So what is happening is the government is thinking that okay, you only should have 100. If you are earning 200, government will take that 100, will give to someone else who is not having any money. That is communism. Socialism means you are earning money 200, 300, 500, okay, you keep it yourself. But unless there is a need, the government will not take it from you. But when there is a need, the government can take it. That is socialism. Simple, okay? So Article 30 is mainly to ensure three types of justice, and then it can minimize the inequalities in income, status, facilities, and opportunities. Especially keep this in mind, minimize the inequalities. Fine, next. Next is Article 39. What is Article 39? Very important. To secure a right to adequate means of livelihood. Okay, first is means of livelihood. Equitable distribution of material resources of the community for common good. This is I told you. See, whenever there is a need, the government can equally distribute the resources. Prevention of concentration of wealth. Guys, very important point. Generally, prevention of concentration of wealth is is mentioned in which of the following article in DPSP will be asked. Because recently released report have mentioned that in India, even though the GDP is increasing, even though income is increasing, there is high inequality. So that is what is the major problem. India is having top richest people in our country, but the resources are shared by very less people. You know, about 6% of people have mostly 95% of the resources. So the remaining people are poor. So this question can be asked: prevention of concentration of wealth and means of production. Article 39. See, you can even use it in terms of society paper. Okay, when there is a from society social justice paper, you can use this point. According to Article 39, there is a provision in the DPSP related to prevention of concentration of wealth and means of production. And then equal pay for equal work for men and women. Now, gender pay gap is a very big problem. Again, this question can be asked. Okay, in our DPSP, we have addressed related to gender pay gap also. And then preservation of health and strength of workers and children against forcible abuse. We have this, similar form of concept, but only for children in terms of fundamental rights, which is Article 24. Article 24 speaks about employment of children in hazardous works. But here in DPSP, they speak about general workers, both men and women, adults and children also. Opportunity for healthy development of children, Article 39. Okay, next. See, healthy development. In fundamental rights, we speak about education. Here, they speak about healthy development. To promote equal justice and to provide free legal aid to poor. See, free legal aid is in fundamental rights also, DPSP also. Important. Because free legal aid is in fundamental rights also. The poor is extra added in terms of DPSP. Next, to see your right to work, to education and public assistance in case of unemployment, old age, sickness and disablement. It is Article 41. Okay. To make provision for just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. See, for maternity relief, we have law now, but that law has been created in the in parallel with or in line with Article 42 for maternity benefits. Okay, so in 2018 there was a question related to maternity benefits. Fine. Secure a living wage, a decent standard of life and social and cultural opportunities for all workers. Okay. Yes, to secure a living wage, a decent standard of life, and social and cultural opportunities for all workers. See, social and cultural opportunities, very important. Okay, this is spoken in Article 43. So, related to fundamental rights, someone had asked me, Ma'am, where can I study fundamental rights? We have 3 videos: Fundamental Rights Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, where I have explained most important fundamental rights videos. This is in the same channel. You can just go and watch those channels. Okay, so watch those videos. Next is participation of workers in the management of industries. Like partner, like giving them shares. So workers have to take part in management of industries also. At the same time, giving them at the same time, give them these trade unions, permission to form trade unions, so that they also have a say in taking decisions related to management of the industries. What should be the increment? What should be the basic pay? These kind of things can be decided with the help of trade unions. This Article 43A, is ensuring that workers can take part in the management of industries. Fine. DPSP violating the Article 21. I don't think so. DPSP is violating the Article 21 A, because Article 21A is related to right to free and fair education. But how can DPSP violate Article 21A? I'm not sure. Okay, free and fair education. DPSP is not violating Article 20. To raise the level of nutrition and the standard of living of people and improve public health. Okay, so level of nutrition, we know we have this national nutrition policy. National nutrition policy, very important. This national nutrition policy is in line with Article 47. Okay, so when there is a question from mains, these kind of national nutrition policy or any questions are asked, if there is any question related to education, national education policy, when you are writing the provisions in the polity, when you are writing the provisions in the constitution, the value of your answer will be very high. The trick in mains is that you should not just write the concept, you should write some data. So those data, how can I study, ma'am? Some people do a mistake of reading so many reports, trying to memorize all these economic survey. No, whatever you are studying, constitution will give you the source of so many data. Use constitution, use current affairs, what you are studying on the daily basis, to write the data in your mains answer. So if you want your mains answer to look, so good and so what to say, professional in nature, definitely you should use data, number one. Those data can be taken from what you are studying. Don't try to memorize many reports, which is not possible, and you will get confused. So basic governmental reports, basic constitutional provisions, and the basic current affairs you study can be used in your answer to make your answer more valuable. Fine? Yes. Next, Gandhian principles. So Gandhian principles is that the principles of Gandhian ideology. Yes. See, really there is something called as health card has been released. See, that health card you can use it with, see, improve public health. So health card is that there will be a card where your visits to hospitals and your medicinal prescriptions, everything will be mentioned. Okay, so that health card will come in line with Article 47, because that is a under Ayushman Bharat scheme, National Health Mission, National Rural and Urban Health Mission, in Mission Indra Dhanush. There are so many schemes in line with this DPSP. That's what I'm telling you. DPSP are not justiciable nature, but still many of many of the schemes, many of the acts which is brought by the government are always in line with DPSP. Fine. Next, Gandhian principles. So just now we saw socialistic principles. Coming to Gandhian principles, Gandhiji had some dream about how our country should be. Okay, so these principles are in line with Gandhian principles. See, one beauty related to Indian Constitution was when Constituent Assembly was formed, two important leaders from Pakistan and India were not present. Who are those? One is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the other is Gandhiji. Okay, they worked really hard to get independence for both the nations. Since when Gandhiji is called as the father of India, Muhammad Ali Jinnah is called as the father of Pakistan. So when Constituent Assembly was formed, what happened was these two people did not come into the Constituent Assembly. Fine. So Gandhiji, even though he worked hard for the independence, he did not come to the Constituent Assembly. But still, his ideology, his ideology and his dreams were ensured or incorporated into the Indian Constitution. Such ideas and such dreams of Gandhiji are coming under the concept of Gandhian principles. See, these principles are based on Gandhian ideology and they represent the program of reconstructions enunciated by the Gandhi during the national movement. So these are like, when Gandhiji was in national movement, he have set some, programs related to the welfare of people. So in order to fulfill the dreams of Gandhi, they are inside this Gandhian principle. We'll see what are those. These are all, see, everything in DPSP are very important because DPSP will not just help to make laws, it will help you to answer the question in UPSC. To organize village panchayats, very important, we have panchayats now, right? 73rd Amendment Act. We have Panchayat now. We have PESA Act, which has been extended to scheduled areas also. So to organize village panchayats and endow them with necessary powers and authority. So obviously we know that panchayats are, autonomous organizations, autonomous institutions. Decentralization process is done by the panchayats because many countries are two tiers, but the Indian government is very unique where they have three-tier system in which we have central government, state government and local bodies to enable them to function as units of self-government. This is Article 40. Okay. To promote cottage industries on an individual or cooperation basis. Cottage industry, that is what we call it now as micro and small scale industry. Fine. So now there are so much funds, so much loans given for MSMEs. So all these cottage industries, those schemes are in line with Article 43. Next, to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control and professional management of cooperative society. Part 9B of Indian Constitution is about cooperative society. Okay, fine. So promote the educational and economic interest of SCs, STs and other weaker sections of the society. So this is ensured by what? This is ensured by reservations in educational institution, which comes under Article 15. So under Article 15, it has been mentioned that Article 15, even though it is prohibiting discrimination, it is allowing the state to make special provisions for educationally and socially backward people. Okay, so for educationally and socially backward people, government can make special provisions. Fine. Okay, then article protect them from social injustice and exploitation. Find this social injustice and exploitation. Also, we have fundamental rights. Also, they have ensured in fundamental rights. Also, we have it in DPSP also, and prevention of atrocities against SC and ST is also in line with this article only. Prevention of atrocities against SC and ST Act. This act might be in question now. Don't worry, we will be discussing important acts alone in one class. We'll be discussing these kind of society based acts and important acts in one class. Fine. Next. See, related to Ayushman Bharat, why it was not implemented all state. Ayushman Bharat was formed and then was given as a voluntary concept to every state. Now it's in the pilot basis. Then later what happened? Every state are coming now inside. They are coming now inside, checking the provision if it is okay for them, and it is coming. Every state are signing it one by one. Fine. Next. And one more thing, as I said, DPSP, the Ayushman Bharat scheme is in line with DPSP. So it is non-justiciable and it is not compulsory also to of the states to accept. Next, prohibit the consumption of intoxicating drinks and drugs which are injurious to health. Okay, so this, even though it is in DPSP, we know very well there are some even state governments involved in this. So since it is in DPSP, so it is non-justiciable. We cannot question, we cannot check the constitutionality of those industries. Okay, to prohibit the slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and drought. Milch means milk producing, and this is used for agriculture, cattle, to improve their breeds. Article 48. Okay, so this is very important because we speak about cattle especially in DPSP. Fine. Next, liberal intellectual principles. So these liberal and intellectual principles are ideology of liberalism. Liberalism means more forward thinking and more intellectually develop the nation, or less liberal intellectual principles. Let's see what are those. To secure for all citizens a uniform civil code through the country, Article 44. Okay, so uniform civil code is not possible to bring because it is in the DPSP number 1. And in country like India, with so much diversity, uniform civil code is not possible. If we are trying to bring uniform civil code in the country like India, we will have a problem with related to so much fundamental rights. We have right to cultural and educational rights, right? So if we are bringing uniform civil code, what will happen is it will violate Article 29, 30, Article 25 to 28, and then Article 19, where we have right to expression. So these fundamental rights are violated. So this uniform civil code has not been still established. Fine. Because when we try to bring uniform civil code, everything should be followed everywhere in the nation. But in a country with so much diversity, this will come in conflict with many fundamental rights. So uniform civil code is remaining still in the DPSP, and even after 74 years of independence, we haven't made uniform civil code into an act. Fine. To provide early childhood care and education for all children, see this very important, until the age of 6 years. So this is very important. In fundamental right, they speak about 6 to 14 years, Article 21A. Right? From 6 to 14 years, they speak about education of the child from 6 to 14 years in Article 21A. Second, in DPSP, they are speaking about early childhood care and education till 6 years, that is 0 to 6 years. This is Article 45. Fine. But in fundamental duties, they speak about in general till 14 years. That is 51A. So I am repeating, you can note down. So fundamental right, Article 21A, they speak about 6 to 14 years. DPSP, Article 45, they speak about 0 to 6 years. In fundamental duty, Article 51A, they speak about 14 years, generally, in general till 14 years. Fine. All these three provisions, 86th Amendment Act of 2002. Fine. Any doubts in this? Fine. Next. See, one more person have asked me, is health in concurrent list? Recently, health has been shifted to concurrent list. That is, January 2020, health has been listed to concurrent list. Okay, so initially health was in union list. Now health has been converted to concurrent list. Fine, January 22, 2020. So Jan 22, 2020, health, sorry. Health is in concurrent list now. Fine. Okay. Next point. To organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines is Article 48. See, they are talking about organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific. That is Article 48. And then to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard forest. See, environment is spoken in fundamental rights also. In which article do they speak about environment? Can anyone tell me in which article they speak about environment? Article 21. You can just go and check my previous video. In that, right to have good environment, right to live in a good environment is under the under the concept of fundamental right under Article 21. Along with that, we have Article 48 also, which speaks about environmental protection. Fine. Next. To protect monuments, places and objects of artistic or historic interest which are declared to be of national importance. Article 49 speaks about, protect monuments, places, objects of artistic and historic importance. This also have similar feature in fundamental duties, 51A. See, when you are studying fundamental rights, fundamental duties and DPSP, I want you to compare and study. Only then you will get a clear idea about what are all the articles which are speaking about. Okay. So next is to separate the judiciary from executive in the public services of the state. Okay. So that separating judiciary from executive, very important. Why judiciary should be separated from executive? Any idea? Why judiciary should be separated from executive? What is the need for this? See, if judiciary and executive are linked with each other, what will happen is that judiciary will be under control of executive. Okay, judiciary will be controlled by executive. So what will happen is that whenever there is a problem related to executive, the judiciary cannot ask question. So justice will be denied in many situations if judiciary is under the control of executive. That's why the separation of judiciary from executive is very important. So in independent judiciary, if a country is having independent judiciary, then there is a more possibility of having justice, fair justice. That is the important concept. Next, to promote international peace, security, maintain just and honorable relations between nations, to foster respect for international law and treaty obligations, to encourage settlement of international dispute by arbitration. Arbitration means without war, we have to solve the international dispute. Okay, so what happens is that instead of war, we can have discussions or negotiations, so that we come to a treaty which will help us solve the problem. That is how we have Indus Water Treaty, and then we have many treaties with our neighboring nations, so that what happens is that the international disputes are solved in an arbitrary format. And one more thing, According to Article 51, if there is any state, I'm talking about the literal states of our country. So there is a state, there is international obligation, which will be given importance. International obligation will be given importance. Keep that in mind. Okay. The Indian states and international obligation will be given importance, and the parliament has power to break these states and give to other countries also under any international treaty or any international law. Do you understand? So the parliament is having the power. Parliament, according to Article 3, Parliament has power to break any state or give the state's territory to any country with respect to any international law or treaty obligations. Fine. So this has been mentioned in Article 51, very important. Next. New directive principles. So just now we saw in general what are all the directive principles. Now we are going to see in general related to what were all the amendments in directive principles. Very important concept. We are going to see about what are all the amendments that is going to that has taken place in directive principles. Fine. First, see, 42nd Amendment Act was called as mini constitution because they have amended in almost everything. They have amended in, preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP. Even in terms of, even they brought something called as, what do we call as anti-defection law, 10th schedule. And then they got this emergency provisions, change in emergency provisions. So much things have been brought by 42nd Amendment Act. Okay. So one day what I'll do is I'll try to compile what are all the amendments that took place in 42nd Amendment Act alone. Fine. So coming to this, what are all the new directive principles or any changes that has happened in directive principles under 42nd Amendment Act? First is secure the opportunity for health and development of children. Article 39 was added under 42nd Amendment Act. And then to promote equal justice and to provide free legal aid to poor, 39A was added under Article under 42nd Amendment Act. Okay, this you could have seen. So under Article 39, there are so many things. See, under Article 39, you could have seen so many things. The last opportunities of healthy development was alone added under 42nd Amendment Act. Do you get it? Not the entire Article 39. In Article 39, you have so much provisions. In that, the last provision was alone added by 42nd Amendment Act. And this, to promote equal justice and provide free legal aid, was also added under 42nd Amendment Act. Fine. Steps to secure participation of worker in the management of industries. Yes, I told you, like, formation of trade unions, all these things. So assemblies and unions, we also have it in terms of fundamental right under Article 19. The right to form associations, that comes under Article 19, but here especially related to workers in the management. Okay, so that is Article 43A, which was also under 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. And then protect and improve the environment and safeguard forest was also added under 42nd Amendment Act. This comes under liberalist principles. So this is nothing but forest. Here there is a word, hidden by the, it is nothing but forest. Next, 44th Amendment Act of 1978 added one more directive principle, which is requires the state to minimize inequalities, income, status, facilities and opportunities. Very important because it is a very powerful DPSP. because state has the power to minimize inequalities. So that is why it is DPSP. This DPSP is powerful. And then 86th Amendment Act of 2002, I told you, it changed the subject matter of Article 45 and made elementary education fundamental. Initially, it was in the DPSP. Elementary education was once in DPSP. But this 86th Amendment divided that and made 0 to 6 years in Article 45 and brought the 6 to 14 years under Article 21A. Not just the division, they made the elementary education compulsory. So what does this compulsory mean? It is the duty of the government to give education to children from age of 6 to 14. So if any child who is not studying, who is not going to school, whom we can question, we can directly the government why this child is not going to the school. So it is the duty of the government to ensure every child within the territory of India gets free and free, fair and equitable education and also quality education, okay, under Article 21A. Next is, see this, until the completion of 6 years, it is under Article 45. Next, 97th Amendment Act of 2011. What is this? Cooperative society. So 9B, and they also added this DPSP. Cooperative society and a new directive principles related to cooperative society. It was the state to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning and democratic control. Okay, yes. Fine. Next. The framers of the constitution made the directive principles non-justiciable and legally non-enforceable. You can ask me, ma'am, the DPSP is really good. Yes, it is very much easy to stand. And one more thing is, they seem to be very justice in nature. So even though in terms of fundamental rights are ensuring certain things to people, but it seems to be more controllable in nature. So yesterday when we were discussing related to the criticism, it was more confusing in nature. But this see, this why this DPSP was made non-justiciable and legally non-enforceable was we have to go back during the independence. What happened was when independence was when we received independence, India was not in a very good state. Okay, so India's economic status was very bad because we know very well the famous drain of wealth theory. Okay, by Dadabhai Nehruji has given us the proof how British were taking our resources. Okay, especially when there was this Battle of Plassey. Okay, so when Battle of Plassey took place, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. So in these two times, Bengal was, Bengal was like a candy, which was, demanded by every people. Okay, it can be every European, British, and then French. Everyone wanted Bengal very badly. Even Indian rulers were having an eye on Bengal because Bengal was so flourishing. We know very well Bengal was so flourishing because there was so much rivers which were draining through Bengal. The delta where of Bengal was very rich in nature. So it was seen as a place where the agriculture was very good. So there is some saying, okay, there is some saying in certain languages. We say that, gold cultivated land. Gold cultivated land is not literally gold cultivated land. The harvest from that land was so rich. The harvest from that land was so profitable in nature. Bengal was such state when British started coming. Robert Clive was the first governor of Bengal. So when he came there, Bengal was so flourishing. Literally, the British saw Bengal as the gold bag of gold. So what happened? They had that gold bag of gold, but instead of making it even more fertile, they started they started depleting the entire resource. How? They started taking every resource to British. How they were taking every resource to British was that, the people were working in India, their salaries, every salary for the British people working in India was given from Indian money. And then their allowance, their pensions, everything completely was from Indian money. So what happened? Bengal, finally it started becoming very poor and even Bengal famine came. That was the status, just the Bengal state I'm talking about. Just imagine the entire country. So when British left our country to us, we had our nation, we had the people, but not economic resources. We did not have capital. So in that situation, the country did not possess sufficient financial resources to implement them. So just now we saw so many DPSP in that, education has to be ensured, health has to be ensured, employment has to be ensured, environment has to be ensured, societal justice has to be ensured. So for ensuring all these things, for implementing all these things, we did not have money. Fine, number one, first and foremost thing. Yes. The presence of vast diversity and backwardness in the country would stand in the way of their implementation. One is vast diversity. So one example, DPSP, we have Uniform Civil Code. Just imagine if Uniform Civil Code is under fundamental, not fundamental right as such, Uniform Civil Code is against people sometimes. So when Uniform Civil Code is brought, what will happen is that the diversity will get affected. So we had vast diversity, number one, and backwardness in the country was there in terms of every aspect, economical, social, and political aspect and educational aspect. We were all backward. So people will not understand if certain things were brought. Okay, equality at that time, we know very well the inequality was there. Rich were richer, poor were richer, poor were poorer, and then community concept, casteism was very prevalent at that situation. So obviously people will not accept at that situation, and that time it was very important to hold all the people as one country. Okay, we know very well the work of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, because he was called the Iron Man of India, because he was responsible for bringing together all these states. At that time, when we are trying to make this PSP justiciable, obviously these states would have started rebelling, and they wanted to go outside. Okay, so that is why the vast diversity and backwardness in the country did not allow DPSP to be justiciable in nature. Okay, so one person has asked me, self-help groups, do they come under cooperative society? See, cooperative society, I'll tell you how cooperative society works. See, you know about Amul, right? Everybody knows about Amul. Okay, Anand Milk Limited, that is called as Amul. So this Amul is a cooperative society. How? So what will happen is, there will be a institution. So in that institution, the government will be one of the partner, one of the administrator, and then people can become shareholders in that. That is called as cooperative society. Okay, but self-help group is an association. That is different. Cooperative society is usually for it is a business model. Cooperative society is usually for income generation, where government will be one of the part, and people can become partner. That is called as cooperative society. Fine. Next, the newly born independent Indian state. Next, coming to the next point, the newly born independent Indian state, with its many preoccupations, might be crushed under the burden unless it was free to decide the order, time, the place, and the mode of fulfilling them. So, India was formed again. We had so many other things to do, like division of India and Pakistan was one important thing over there, and people were migrating from different countries into India and outside India. And then we were in need of having basic communities, like agriculture has to be stabilized, and then we needed basic education, and we needed income generation process. Okay, so the British, even though they had industries, when they left, there was a responsibility for the Indian government to take over all these income generation and basic social problems. And then police formation was there, because to in order to maintain social order, there was so much needs, there were so much priorities for the government than this, to make India a very stable nation. Otherwise, if we have made this DPSP justiciable, what would have happened is, this would have become a burden, and this would have destabilized the country, and today we might not be having the country which is stabilized as of now. Obviously, DPSP is now obviously DPSP is now made more uh, more powerful using parliamentary laws. Okay, so that is how DPSP is very important. Fine. So what are all the criticism for directive principles? We know very well there is no legal force. Obviously, they are non-justiciable in nature. That itself is a very much big drawback, because we know very well DPSP is asking for the prohibition of intoxicated drinks. But what happens in certain states, in many states, the government itself is having their own breweries, okay, own refineries and breweries. So what happens? Since DPSP is non-justiciable, we cannot ask the government or we cannot question the government in court. So this non-justiciable, even though when it was there in 1957, our constitution came into power in 1950. So what happens is that, see, 1947 to 1950, the constitution makers were thinking about the then country. But now after 74 years of independence, still DPSP is not having any legal force, that is making these DPSP weak. Okay, even though there are good provisions, they are weak. Number two, they are illogically arranged. Okay, we say liberal principle and intellectual. But how come uniform civil code will come under liberalism and intellectualism? That is one important point. See, they have made a vague division. Sometimes that division is illogically arranged and there is a question. Next is conservative in nature. See, conservative in nature means it was formed very long back, so that some provisions are still conservative in nature. Okay, so they are like, not advanced in nature. They are very conservative and they are having very old ideologies. And then constitutional conflict, because constitutional conflict is that I told you uniform civil code itself will take. Uniform civil code is alone in conflict with Article 25 to 28, Article 29, 30, Article 19. See how much conflicts are there just in DPSP and fundamental rights alone. So it is in conflict sometimes with fundamental duties. It is in conflict. We saw Article 51. So Article 51 is in conflict with many fundamental rights. Okay, so according to Article 51, this is given more power. This is giving more power to the fundamental. This is giving more power to the international treaties and legal obligations. So what will happen is many of the DPSP are in conflict with the Constitution itself. That even though they are, even though they are non-justiciable in nature, still that is creating a sense of discomfort among the people or among judiciary or legislature when they are trying to making them implement, because there is a concept called as SC and ST and other backward sections related provision is there, but this provision is in conflict with right to equality. So these kind of problems are causing DPSP, somewhat weaker in form, and these are the criticism that has been given on directive principles of state policy. Fine. So this is about DPSP. Is this class over? No. Tomorrow we are having some important class where we are going to compare DPSP and fundamental rights, and we are also going to see how DPSP, what are all the important provisions which is making DPSP even more powerful. We'll see that, and we'll be finding the conflicts between DPSP and fundamental rights, and also we'll be seeing difference between fundamental rights and DPSP. Fine. So tomorrow is also very important class. Again, morning 10 a.m. we'll be meeting, and today afternoon ethics we'll be talking about attitude formation. Fine. So I'll meet you in the afternoon. Today evening 6 p.m. sharp, Modern India discussion. Okay, special class which is a free class. Who are attending prelims 2020, please make use of that class. Fine. Thank you so much. Have a nice day and stay happy and stay safe. I'll be seeing you in the next class. Thank you so much, and use my code SUBA to get the 10% of discount, and subscribe to this page so that you will get proper notification, and share this video to everyone. Okay, thank you.